What's up, everybody? This is Coach Stokes with Stokeshouse Boxing. You in live today. Special guest is going to be somebody incredible, man. Somebody I've known since I was a kid. I know his work because he happened to train one of my fellow comrades on the Marine Corps boxing team. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But just to give you a hint, he's an American boxer. He's a former world-ranked light heavyweight in the light heavyweight division. He's a boxing trainer as well, and he also is an ESPN analyst. It's nobody other than the Iceman cometh himself, John Scully. How you doing, brother?
Yes, sir. I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm not too bad, man. It's been a while. What's been going on in your neck of the woods?
I just got back from training camp with Artur Beterbiev. He's fighting October 6th. He's defending the world title, IBF title, light heavyweight. And I actually just got out of the gym. I just got home from the gym about 10 minutes ago.
Your life, huh?
Yes, sir. Keeping busy, always.
Yeah. Hey, John. Hey, for those of my followers that don't know your history, can you just get them up to speed? How did you get into boxing, John?
When I was a kid, I came up in maybe one of the greatest eras because as a kid, I had the Rocky movies just came out when I was a kid. Muhammad Ali was in the middle of his career, fighting Joe Frazier and Leon Spinks and guys like that. We had Sugar Ray Leonard coming out of the Olympics. And then in 1980, Ali had his last fight or his second to last fight with Larry Holmes. They were big fights back then on network television, constant. So my father and I watched fights every single weekend. Like back then, it was like PBC, the PBC fights you have today.
Yes.
They had those every Saturday and Sunday, 52 weeks of the year, every year. You had Ray Mancini, Alexis Arguello, Larry Holmes, Tommy Hearn, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran on TV every single weekend. So I came up in that era. And so it was just natural, just watching the fights. I eventually started pretending I was a boxer, and in my room I would have fights against myself, and then I started boxing against the kid across the street, Kenny Levy, and it just kind of blossomed from there. My father took me to a gym, and I started boxing amateur, and the rest is history.
Well, John, you definitely are no slouch because you took it to the highest pinnacle that you possibly could take it. I mean, you went to Olympic trials.
Right.
You fought internationally.
Right. Yeah.
You fought a lot of these guys that are up here that you see on TV nowadays.
Right.
You fought professionally, and you had a really good record. Who are your most reputable, most standout boxers that you remember fighting?
The guy who your fans would know is Michael Nunn. Like Michael Nunn was the fight. Put it this way, when I meet people for the first time that know me, almost always they bring up that fight first. Like that's how they really know me, and that was when they saw me was against Michael Nunn, who I'm actually in contact. I don't know if you know that, but I'm actually in contact with Michael quite a bit now.
Really?
Yeah. He calls me. He actually calls me. He gets minutes. He's in the federal penitentiary.
Right.
They have an email system. So we can't send each other pictures or links or anything, but we can send each other emails, which we do every couple of days. And then he calls me on some Saturdays. Actually, I'm actually doing my next amateur boxers reunion on the 29th of this month. And he's going to call in because several guys he fought as amateur and as pro are going to be there. And I'm going to put him on the phone with those guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
That means a lot, man. Definitely for, the situation that's going on. I saw that fight, man. Bro, it was that was definitely a disputable fight, man. And Michael Nunn during that time was knocking every weapon over on everybody.
Yeah, well, you know what? That was the thing. Going into the fight, I kept saying, I looked at all the guys he stopped. Donald Curry, Sambu Kalambe, Juan Roldan, Curtis Parker, Frank Tate. And I'm like, man, he's stopping these guys. Like a lot of people say Michael Nunn can't punch, but he's knocking a lot of good guys out, so he's hitting them with something. Right. So I went into that fight. My whole training camp was mentally getting strong to make sure I could take his punch. because I felt like once I could take his punch, I'd be in a good place. And, you know, once I realized I was in that kind of shape, I was able to be effective. And I actually told him that during the fight. I told him in one of the clinches, I said, listen, you're going to have to hit me harder than that. and he swore. I always thought it's kind of funny. He called me a mother effer. And I remember thinking, man, this is crazy. Like, Michael Nunn just called me a mother effer. You know, I thought it was cool. And that was my memory.
Yeah, for him to call you a mother effer, you definitely was doing your job, for real.
Right.
So you fought pro, amateur and pro, and then when did you decide that you wanted to be a coach? Because I tell people coaching and boxing is two totally different animals.
Right. You know what? I was coaching amateurs while I was pro. I would put it this way. I fought Michael Nunn in December of 1995. And I was at the hotel at the casino, staying in a suite, beautiful room, the whole nine, right? Uh-huh. And you know how amateur boxing is. 3 weeks later, I was at the Region 1 Silver Gloves, and I was sleeping on the floor in a motel room with like 5 other guys. You know, that was our situation. Yeah, that was our situation.
I remember them days. I do.
Yeah, I love those days. I loved it. And I'll tell you a funny thing. I was in the room. There's like 4 kids in the 2 beds, and me and one of the coaches are sleeping on the floor. It was quiet. It was dark, and I knew everybody was awake. And all of a sudden I go, 3 weeks ago, I was in a suite at Boxers Casino, and now I'm sleeping on the floor of a Motel 6 with you guys. You know, but I loved it. You know, it was great. And you know, those are some of the best days of my life, is coaching amateurs.
Yeah.
But what happened was, you know, Clay Bay, Lawrence Clay Bay.
Yes.
Well, after my last fight, my last fight, unlike a lot of guys, my last fight was one of the best fights of my career. It was one of my most impressive performances. I felt spectacular. After the fight, I thought big things are going to happen for me. Things are going to really happen now. And what happened was 9 fights fell out on me in a row over a 2-year span. So in the meantime, just to keep busy, I started training Clay Bay. And what happened was they called me with a fight. I was going to fight Elver Mariki. And I took the fight. Mm-hmm. And then literally the next day, they called me with Clay Bay's next fight. His fight was the day after mine. So I realized it wasn't fair to him. You know, I got to train this guy. I can't be worried about my own career. So, you know, I stayed with him, and I turned the fight down, and that was it. I just evolved into training pros at that point.
Well, I've watched you over the years. I mean, you work with a lot of people. Chad Dawson. I mean, you name it, man. Going down to the gauntlet. And I watch trainers very closely. And I tell you, I always tell people, you are a product of your coach. So whatever you learn, that's the same way that you may end up coaching. And I tell you, brother, you coach one of my good friends, Hall of Famer Orlando Cordova, for the Marine Corps boxing team.
Yes, sir.
When I was on the team, you would get guys that would come in that would want to work out on the team that really had no skills. That didn't. Finding a good skilled boxer in the Marine Corps boxing team was like finding a needle in a haystack. But when he came on, it's like, man, where you from? And when he mentioned you, it was like, oh, yeah, he's legit. He legit, coach. Right. He's 100% legit. Who are some of the boxers that you remember working with? That's fun. That came to mind. You know, you have Orlando, you have Mike. You know,
right? Mike Oliver, who had 300 amateur fights. You know, probably the most naturally gifted fighter I've ever worked with. Mike could go to a tournament with no training at all, like no running, no road work, no nothing. 'Cause I didn't train him as an amateur. He was in the gym since he was a little kid, but I wasn't his coach. But I took him on trips when his coach couldn't go. Yeah. Out of shape, didn't train a day. And he went to the finals of the 1999 National PAL tournament. He won 4 fights, beat 2 top-ranked guys, and then lost a decision to Gerald Tucker in the finals. Didn't train a day. Didn't train a day. Yeah. Just a naturally gifted kid. Now, when we turned pro, I told him, you know, that's not going to fly over a pro career. You're going to have to train. And he trained. And, Mike went very far. He won an IBO title and was top-ranked contender. he could have went much further. But Mike was a real talent. I trained Matt Godfrey for a while, who's
yes,
very, great talent. Like I say, I'm working right now. I do the pad work and technique with Artur Beterbiev, who's IBF light heavyweight champ. He's fighting October 6th in Chicago. Artur's a monster. I don't know if you've caught him yet, but he's a beast.
I have.
Yeah, he's a real. That dude is so strong. It's like, and I don't go by just me. I go by the guys who spar with him. Mm-hmm. And every one of them, they're like, man, this is the strongest guy I've ever sparred with ever. Like, he's just a phenomenon. He's a great guy that I'm working with. I worked with Scotty Pemberton for a while. I worked with Ray Oliveira for a while. Some quality guys, and it's been fun. I mean, and I don't care. Me, if I train a novice junior Olympic kid or I train Chad Dawson, it's all the same to me. Like, we're getting ready and we're working, and it means just as much to me to have a junior Olympic champion as it did to have Chad and Jose Rivera win world titles.
Yes. That's what I was going to get to you next. The boxing culture today, definitely is different. Sports is different. You have social media. You have a lot of things going on. How do you view the boxing culture today compared to as when you were coming up?
It's different because everybody's famous now. Like, everybody in the game is famous. Everybody wants to be famous. Like, you've got now trainers who are doing these, really flashy pad work, routines, and they're, I see guys literally dancing, like trainers. They're doing a dance routine and they're looking at the camera, So it's very obvious to me, whether they realize it or not, like, they want to be the star. And the fighter, and Angelo Dundee always said, the fighter is the star. He's the guy. That's the attention. And now it seems like too many trainers are trying to be the star. And, that creates a problem, because in a moment when, in a fight or whatever the case may be, when you have to decide, even in the gym, when you have to decide what move you make, who it's actually best for, sometimes now they may not make the move that's best for the fighter, as opposed to maybe they're going to make a move that's better for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the fighter is he's sharing time now because of the internet. You've got trainers, you've got cut men, you've got referees even who are getting in the act where they have their thing. Like, you could look at a referee and go, yeah, I know that guy. He always makes that funny face when they announce his name. So I know the referee, the guy that makes a funny face. Back in my day, we didn't know who any referee was. Like, if you ask me, I had 49 fights. I only remember 2 referees. 2 of my 49 fights, I know who refed the fight. 3 fights, I know who refed the fight. 1, because I got cut really bad, and he said he might stop it, and I told him I was going to kill him if he stopped it. So I remember him. And then I remember Carlos Padilla, because he refed my fight, and he also refed the Thrill in Manila. So I knew him. And then there's another guy from where I lived that I just knew back in the day. But we didn't know the referees back then. Now referees are almost as famous as some of the fighters are. Yeah. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. Social media is a great thing, and it's also a thing where back in the day, your heroes and your idols, you didn't really know them. You only knew what you saw on TV, and you idolized them, and you wondered what they were like in real life.
Yes.
And you grew up never knowing. And they were always your idol, and that's it. Now, I believe you take a guy like Adrian Broner. Now, I don't know if he's got mental illness. I don't know what's wrong with him exactly, but I'm sure there's people who liked him when he first came out. They were really impressed. When he had, he had fast hands. I mean, he had the tools.
Right.
But then you see him, berating the guy in Walmart, and he dissed the kid. The kid wanted his picture taken in a shoe store or something. He was making fun of the kid. And then the other day, he's doing that thing in the Uber. I don't know if you saw that, but he really made a fool of himself in this Uber. He got thrown out of the Uber.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, yeah, it was very, it was bad. It was bad. I always say, what if that was my father driving that Uber? What would I think then? I might have to kill Adrian Broner.
Exactly.
So now social media might be a thing where, a lot of people are like disillusioned with their idols. You know what I mean? They might have been better if they didn't know famous people so well.
Yeah. John, I want to ask you this, man. And be rough, rugged, and raw when you say this, because you get so many kids that think that they want to box.
Right.
What do you look for as a coach when somebody comes to you and say, "Hey, my kid wanted to box," or bring him inside of the gym? What is one of the first things that you look for?
Well, it is what it is. I would say people like you see a video, right? You see these all the time on Facebook. Somebody will put a video up of their little son. He's like 10, and he's really fast on the mitts, and he's imitating Sugar Ray or whatever he's doing. And you read the comments, and it's always like, "Oh, he's going to be a future champ, man. Tell me, if he stays with it, he's going to be champ. And he's going to do this, and he's going to do that." And I'm saying, listen, I hate to rain on your parade, but chances are in a year from now, the kid's not going to be boxing because he's not going to want to train hard. He's got no heart. He can't take a punch. He doesn't like body punches. He can't handle the exercise. I've had guys in the gym, talented kids, right? And when I had a kid, put it this way, I won't say his name, of course, but one of the most talented kids I've ever seen, ever. I'm talking ever. I'm talking Roy Jones, Floyd Mayweather, and this kid in the gym. I started training. This was about 2 years ago. He was undefeated as a pro. I started training him. He had never trained hard, and he got by on natural talent. I trained this kid, this man. He was about 23 years old. One day, he didn't make it. He never came back. Trained him one day. And I talked to him the next day. He said, "Oh, man, I'm not going to come back today. I'm really sore." I said, "Okay, I can understand that. Okay, come back tomorrow." That was almost 2 years ago. I have not seen him in person since. I've never seen him again in person. And he fought a couple times since then. He actually got stopped his last fight because he got tired and he got stopped, So, because I always said, and I actually told him that maybe he didn't like it, but I'm what you call a real guy. When it comes to boxing, I don't play around because the truth, I always say this, the truth is going to come out. Like if you see a fight and a guy says, "I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm a trainer, I run 5 miles a day, I'm going to hit this dude with an uppercut, I'm going to bust his jaw." You know what I always say? We'll see. We'll see. Because you know what? You might and you might not. You may quit like a dog in the 3rd round, like a coward. Just because you're talking stuff here doesn't mean anything, and anybody knows that. You think about it this way. If 100 fights happen, that means 200 guys are going to tell you before the fight what they're going to do, and 100 of them are going to be wrong. Fact. So it's a fact. 100 of them are going to be wrong. As convincing as they sound, 100 of them are going to be wrong. They're going to be liars. Yeah. And so I don't care if you have fast hands. I don't care if you have reflexes. You're really tricky. You're flashy. I don't care. I want to see you get a bloody nose and get mad about it. I want to see you. I'll tell you one thing I see. This is what you asked me a good question. I'm going to give you the best answer. Okay. This is my answer. This is my answer always. If you get cut in sparring, I want you to beg me to keep going. If you don't beg me to keep going, like I did when I was cut. When I was cut, and one thing you can say about me, when I was cut in the gym, I was like I was so mad, and I wanted to get the guy back. Mm-hmm. And my trainers are like, "Come on, no, you gotta, you can't get cut worse. Get him back in a month." And they had to talk me into it. Now, if I tell you, if you get cut and you tell me, "Oh, I'm cut, I gotta stop," I don't think it's for you. You know what I mean? I don't want you to keep going. I don't want you to keep going, but I want you to want to keep going. Right. I had a sparring match. I'll never forget it. 1986 at Marvin Hagler's gym. I was sparring with a guy named Marty Foley. Marty Foley hit me with the single hardest punch I've ever been hit with in my life. He hit me so hard I could hear, not feel, I could feel it, but I could hear my nose break. I could hear the crunching in my head of the bone crunching, right? Uh-huh. I went 5 more rounds. We did 6 rounds. He broke it in the first. We did 6 rounds. I bled for like 18 hours after that. I just bled and bled and bled. But there's no way I was going to stop. And I remember Goody Petronelli, who was Marvin Hagler's trainer, every round he was like, "Are you sure? Is that good? Is that enough?" I said, no, let's go. And I got into a groove, and I was boxing really good. At the end of the 6th round, Goody was laughing so hard because he was like amazed that I wanted to keep going. And I got the other guy tired, and he was tired, So I wouldn't let a guy do that. Like what I did, I wouldn't let a guy do that. But I want him to ask me. You know what I mean? I don't want him. If you quit that easy, if you stop, that tells me you're not fighting for it. You know what I mean? Like if I was gonna break into your house and grab your TV and run out, you'd fight me for it. You wouldn't say, you got a head start on me, take it. You wouldn't do that. You'd fight. No matter if you're naked, you'd run out of the house naked and tackle me to get your TV back. Right. Well, I want that instant reaction. And when your instant reaction is, I don't want to. I'm not. It hurts. I'm tired. Mm-hmm. That tells me there's an issue, a deep internal issue as a fighter. And I always think one thing. I mean, I hate to ramble, but I'll tell you one thing. Whenever I got hurt in a fight or sparring, and I mean, I'm talking bloody nose, broken nose, cuts, whatever. I always said to myself, what would Marvin Hagler do right now? And I know, and I don't know if you know this story, but when Marvin Hagler fought Tommy Hearns, if you remember, in the first round, Marvin got a really bad cut. It wasn't across. It was straight down his forehead.
Yeah, I remember.
And at one point, the referee stopped the fight, and he brought Marvin over to the doctor. And now that's a moment where a fighter could subconsciously talk the doctor into stopping the fight. Like if he says, I can't see, the doctor's going to stop the fight. And the fighter knows that, right?
Right.
The doctor said to Marvin Hagler, who's bleeding and Tommy was hitting him with some big shots. The doctor said to Marvin Hagler, can you see? You know what Marvin Hagler said?
What's that?
You ever heard it? What'd he say?
I never heard it.
He said, I ain't missing him, am I? The doctor said, all right, you're good. And Marvin went out. No, that was in the 3rd round, excuse me. He stopped the fight. If you watch the tape, he knocked Tommy out like 20, 30 seconds later.
Right.
So they were going to stop it on him. He said, I ain't missing him, am I? And there you go. That's the answer the doctor was looking for. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm looking for that answer. So if I ask you a question, you better answer the way a fighter's supposed to answer. That's what I look for. I don't care how fast you are, fast feet, fast hands, ollie shuffle, you got the Mayweather shoulder roll.
Yeah.
All that is irrelevant. I want to see what you got inside.
You want that mental toughness.
Right. You look at it. Orlando Cordova, he'll tell you, like you said, he was already polished when you met him, right?
Yes.
We worked, I used to tell him the stories about, I told him that story. I told him stories about Chavez and different people and what it takes to mentally be a fighter. And as a matter of fact, I remember this. He used to call me from basic training going into the Marines. And my whole life, I always heard how tough it was. Marines are vicious. They work that training. And he told me, he said, the boxing got him ready for the training. He said the training was easy compared to what we did in the gym for training. He said the boxing is what got him through basic training in the Marines. That's why, and he came in, if I remember correctly, 2nd in the class of however many 200 or whatever is there. Okay. He came in 2nd. In his class heading into the Marines.
Yeah, it's life. It's just like life. You get knocked down, you get back up.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And I totally agree with you when it comes to that. You got to have that fight. You got to have that game in you. I want to ask. I want to change sides now. As a boxer, you told what you're looking for when it comes to being a boxer. Being a coach. What if somebody comes to you and say, John, I want to be a coach, what are you looking for in a coach? What should they be looking for? What should they strive towards?
You know what? Part of it is connecting with the boxer, right? Now, a lot of people say, so-and-so, like imagine if Angelo Dundee trained Tyson. He would have been good. He would have been better. Or imagine if Emanuel Steward trained this guy. He would. So, it doesn't matter. Like, you need that connection. I've had fighters that I worked with that I really couldn't connect with like I wanted to. You know what I mean? I couldn't, like Mike Oliver did as well as he did, in part because I knew him since he was a kid, and I knew how to talk to Mike. That's what we call him, Mike. I know how to talk to Mike. With Arthur Betabayev in the gym, I'm able to talk to him. I know how to respond to him. With Chad, I was able to get through. Other fighters, maybe it's a personality conflict or whatever, but if I can't reach you, my method of training is gonna be irrelevant. You know what I mean? It's not gonna matter. So you have to be skilled as a trainer, but you also have to be sort of like a psychiatrist. You've got to know people. And a lot of great trainers in history have not been educated men. They didn't go to college. A lot of them in the old days, they didn't even go to high school. You know what I mean? Guys that trained Joe Louis, guys that trained Sugar Ray Robinson. But they knew people and they knew boxing. And they knew how to reach fighters in a way that even a psychiatrist and a psychologist couldn't do. And I believe that. And I believe that being a good trainer, you have to be well-versed in the psychology of a fighter. And for me, as a boxing coach, that's my forte. I can teach you the jab and, things you need to know. But as far as the mental, what it takes to be a real fighter, and I say that not just because of my success, but also because of the times that I failed. When I failed in certain times, I know why I failed. I know what held me back. And I've been able to use that with guys. And I've told them, listen, don't do what I did. This is not the move, because you're not going to succeed the way, because I tried it already. And the whole point of being a coach, being a teacher, being a parent is to use your previous experiences to help people avoid failing. You know what I mean? Yes. And so that's kind of my thing. I'm big on the mental aspects of boxing, because people always say boxing they use different number, 80% mental, 90% mental. And I don't know what the exact figure is, but your mentality is huge into being a fighter. Yes. So that's what I look for in a trainer. Some of these guys, they want to be a trainer, and you've seen this, like a trainer will get mad at a kid because he drops his right, he drops his right hand, or he doesn't throw a punch. He doesn't throw a 5-punch combination. The trainer will get so mad that it's like he wants to beat the kid. You know what I mean? Like he's embarrassing the kid in front of everybody, saying, Coach, don't you think if he could do it, he would? Don't you think he wants to succeed? I go, and do you really think you embarrassing him and talking down to him is going to help him want to please you, want to succeed? He's not going to want to succeed. You're gonna make him hate it. You know what it's like? I saw a kid. I'll give you an example. I saw a kid. He was 14 years old, a good JO. He was a very, very solid JO. But he was trained by his father, and his father was kind of like a maniac. Like his father was really, really hard on him. And this is, I'll tell you funny, as a boxing mind, this is when I knew the kid wasn't going to make it. This is the moment I knew. We were at a tournament, and the whole week, me and Orlando and all my kids, we have fun. We're in the hotel, we're having squirt gun fights, and we're watching movies, and we're hanging out. So one night I told his coach, I said, hey, let the kid hang out with us. And he said, no, he's got to fight. He's got to go to bed really early. And I'm like, well, that's okay. I'm not gonna go against the coach by any means. So I said, okay, no problem. After the kid won. He won the tournament. After the finals, it's all over. We're leaving the next day. The kid's 14 years old. I'm taking my team to the drive-in movie. I tell the coach, hey, let your son come with us. We're going to the movies. No, I told the kid. I say, hey, meet us downstairs. We're going to the movies. He goes, oh, great. It's a great. I talked to my dad. I said, well, no, just tell him you're going. He goes, you better ask him. I go up in the room with all the kids, and I asked the father if he can go. He said no. He said no, and he said, listen. He said, we're leaving tomorrow. We're going home. He said he's going to take Monday off. Mm-hmm. He's going to hang out with his girlfriend, and then he's going to be back in the gym on Tuesday, just like always. And right in that moment, I said, that kid's not going to make it. And literally, since he was 14 at the time, since he was 16, I've literally never seen him again. Never. I've never seen him here. He stopped boxing. That was it. And I knew his father was going to kill it for him because there's no way. Look, the tournament's over. You got 14 other kids. going to the drive-in movie and you can't go, like that's what it takes to be a fighter. I know there's no 14-year-old kid going with that. No. So, you know, that father was not cut out to be a coach. And I'll tell you what, I've never seen him either. He hasn't coached anyone else either, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I've heard the horror stories of, coaches, specifically fathers, that will push their kids so hard where they just quit. They just be like, they be like, forget it. I don't want to do this. And I'm doing this, man, because I want to spend more time with my son, but most importantly, I want to make sure that, like, I love what you said. You said it's not the things that I did right, it's things that I did wrong. And that's why I always ask people, like, what would you change over again if you could do it all over again? That's why I ask everybody. I don't want to know about the good things. I want to know about the bad things. I want to know about the negative. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
yeah.
John, I want to ask you this, man. And I ask everybody this question. It's a three-part question at 6 a.m.
Okay.
So, three-part question. If you could build the perfect boxer in your own words, your own views, who would you choose offensively, defensively, and ring IQ-wise? Let's start. Who is your favorite boxer? Who you think the best boxer offensively is?
Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. was incomparable on his best day. Roy Jones Jr., and I'm talking about his best, at his best, flawless. Like, and people say, oh, Roy didn't have technique. I say, you know why you say that? Because you read it on the internet. Some guy said it, so you're saying, Now, I have a little different outlook on that. Number one, I think his technique was very good at times. He had very good technique. The only difference was he added some razzmatazz to it. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll give you an example. If Roy Jones throws a right hand and 3 really flashy left hooks and then steps away, people will say, oh, he's just using speed and athleticism. Mm-hmm. But if Mike McCallum does it, they say he's using brilliant boxing technique and fundamentals.
Why
they
is
did
that?
The same thing. They did the same because, like, people want to, the razzmatazz of it, the speed of it, makes it look like it was a natural gift. But I know for a fact, look, I know Roy Jones' father very well. I trained with them. I lived in Pensacola for a while. Mm-hmm. Roy Jones' father worked with fighters as hard or harder than any trainer I've ever seen.
I heard he was no joke.
He had guys in the gym. This is how serious he was. He had guys in the gym. They didn't spar for over a year when they and they're like, man, I want to spar. And the guy, and they listened to him. They're like, yeah, Big Roy said I'm not ready to spar yet. I said, man, you've been boxing like 8 months. And Big Roy said, if he's not ready to do it, if he doesn't have the fundamentals down, why am I going to have him practice doing it wrong? Now, I see the reasoning behind that, and I can't argue with his success because a lot of people don't know. They say, oh, Roy Jones, all he trained was Roy Jones. I said, no. Roy Jones' father trained Derek Smoke Gaynor since he first started. He trained heavyweight champion Arthur Williams since he first started. He trained another champ. I forget, but they had Reggie Johnson down there with him for a while. Like, Big Roy works with a lot of people, and he had some very talented kids that he worked with. So Roy Jones, as far as his offense, and his technique, he did great technique, but he subsidized it with unbelievable athleticism and speed. And I'm saying, like, people criticize him, say, oh, he doesn't have good technique. I say, okay, well, who's going to beat him? Who do you got? If you got somebody that's very good at technique, because when they first fought more in their primes, Bernard Hopkins didn't beat him. Mike McCallum didn't beat him, so they didn't even touch him. And James Toney, weight loss or whatever, James didn't come close to beating him on that night. So Roy Jones, for what he produced, some of the highlight reel knockouts, who have you seen throw 6-7 hooks in a row? Nobody. And land 6 in a row. Like he landed them.
He's throwing like they jabs.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what. When I turned pro, that's my prime. I'm 20 years old, almost 21. That's the prime of my life, so to speak. I was a good amateur. I was number 3 in the country when I turned pro. I had won national tournaments, and I had sparred with the best, including Roy. And, so I'm turning pro. I'm going to try and be a world champion. when I turned pro, I thought about all the guys that I turned pro with, and every one of them, I'm like, all right, if I have to fight this guy, I'll do this and I'll do that. It'll be a tough fight, but I'll do this. I could find a way, in my mind at least, to beat them. When I thought about Roy, I had to say to myself, look, I don't think I can beat this guy. Like, you can't. I just can't. Like there's levels to it. There's things you can't control, and Roy Jones is one of them. And he's the only guy ever who made me admit that I couldn't beat him. You know what I mean? Like, there's other guys that could beat me,
right? But
I could see me beating them too. Right. But him, with everything combined, I couldn't see it. So offensively, I'm going with him.
Defensively,
James Toney. Ooh. James Toney on his best day was he's brilliant. Like, this guy, and if James Toney had Floyd Mayweather's, discipline, James Toney might have been the greatest fighter ever. You know what I mean? James Toney did stuff in the ring, when he fought Iran Barkley, and it was clear, like, James was the type of guy, he got up to the level of his competition, mm-hmm. and he, if he felt you were inferior, he didn't train hard. That was the difference between him and Roy. Like, Roy had six-pack abs every day of the year. Roy Jones was always ready, always in shape. There was never a lazy Roy Jones, right? Mm-hmm. James, if he felt you were inferior, you'd rise a little bit in his, to his level closer, because he'd lower himself, you'd rise up, and there'd be close fights with guys that he probably should have massacred. But when he stepped his game up with Iran and different guys like that, you're talking with Vasily Yurov, you're talking, brilliant defensive, and counterpunching off it. And, you look at James Toney, he must have been great defensively to at one time be 160 and then move up and trade punches with Samuel Peter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're trading punches with Samuel. You're telling me a former middleweight is able to roll with punches off of Samuel Peter. He's able to, diminish the power, minimize the power. Mm-hmm. That takes a defensive genius, because there's no other middleweight going up and fighting Samuel Peter and going 12 rounds twice. It's not happening. You're getting caught and you're getting knocked out. So James was, knew how to roll with the punches and slip the punches. He was a genius.
John, I want to ask you this. His shoulder roll, tell my viewers the difference between his shoulder roll and Floyd Mayweather's.
Well, his Floyd primarily waits and goes the right hand, like the straight right hand, right to the head, and he's trying to just touch you. You know what I mean? He's just trying to make contact. Floyd never looks like he's trying to win by knockout. He's not, but James took pride in the name Lights Out. Like, he's trying to suck you in, but he's not just going to the head. He's shoulder rolling to the solar plexus, which I believe he got from Mike McCallum when they fought, because he said fighting Mike McCallum was like going to school, like going to college. And Mike McCallum, he did the shoulder roll, but he didn't throw the right to the head. Mike McCallum threw the uppercut to the solar plexus off of the shoulder roll. And that's another thing, your viewers, so many people in this era, like you said, what's wrong with this era? This era thinks that Floyd Mayweather invented the shoulder roll. Now, all you got to do, I'll tell all your viewers right now, go to YouTube as soon as this interview's over, go to Archie Moore against Rocky Marciano in the first round. Archie Moore knocked Rocky Marciano down with a shoulder roll. He hit him with the right hand off the shoulder roll. Uh-huh. Jersey Joe Walcott tried it against Marciano. When Marciano knocked out Jersey Joe Walcott, when Walcott was stuck on the ropes, Walcott was in the middle of shoulder rolling, and he got caught. Rocky got there first with the right hand. So Floyd Mayweather's a great fighter, don't get me wrong. But James Toney, Hurricane Carter, Georgie Benton, Ezra Charles, they all did the shoulder roll. Everybody back in the day did the shoulder roll. That was nothing. Now, the only reason think about it. The only reason Floyd Mayweather's shoulder roll is a big deal is because nobody else does it. If everybody did it, it wouldn't be a big deal. People act like he invented it. Right. I said, man, you know, we have a lot of lost art in this game. Stuff that they did regularly in the 1950s is like rare now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me just answer this door.
No problem.
Yeah. So, you know, I said to answer that door. So it's a rare thing now. So it seems like a bigger deal. But if you look back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, all those guys were doing the shoulder roll and counter punches and things like that.
Mm-hmm. My last question, ring generalship or IQ, who do you put in that position?
Man, I mean, the guy that always comes to mind, exciting or not, would be Bernard Hopkins or Floyd Mayweather. I mean, Floyd Mayweather, in terms of controlling a fight and controlling the positioning and the distance, you know, and a lot of people got down on Floyd and they say, oh, he's not exciting. I said, listen, if you love boxing, he is exciting. He's maybe exciting is not the word. He's certainly interesting if you love boxing. Right. You know, if you love fighting, and that's a big difference. A fight and boxing, it's two different things. Mm-hmm. You know, Floyd Mayweather is a scientist, and it takes people familiar with the science to appreciate it. So he controls the fight. And that's exactly why when he fought Pacquiao, the entire world was so excited about that fight. And I did several interviews right before the fight, and I said, I don't know why everybody's so excited. This is not going to be a great fight. Floyd Mayweather is going to win this fight just like he wins every other fight. This is crazy to me that this fight is going to make $200 million or whatever it is, because it's going to be no different than every other fight he's had. I knew that because, you know, and that's nothing against Pac-Man. Pac-Man is a great fighter in himself, and Pac-Man could set you up and everything, but setting Floyd up is a whole different package.
It is. What do you think about Floyd mentioned the other day that he's talking about coming back? You think it's going to happen?
I think it probably will, and I think that they would have to handcuff me to watch the fight. I'm not watching that. You know what? Because it's an insult in this respect. Like, it has no bearing on the weight class. Like, what if they fight at 47, say? It means nothing, because the winner is not going to fight Errol Spence. He's not going to fight Bud Crawford. So it has no bearing on anything other than those guys making money off of you people who don't know better, and you think it's going to be a great fight and it's going to be this, it's going to be that. Floyd is 40, 41, whatever. He's not going to change his ways. Like, he's not going to all of a sudden say, okay, you know, I'm older now and it's my last fight. I'm gonna have a war so you guys can be happy. He's not gonna do. Even if he wanted to do that, he couldn't do that. His nature wouldn't allow him to get a war. Just on instinct, he's gonna move his head. He's gonna make you miss. He's gonna counter. Right. You know. So I'm not. I as a boxing person, as a boxing purist, I would feel like I disrespected my sport if I make a big deal out of that fight and I watch that fight. You know, you want to come back, fine. Fight Errol Spence. If you want to be the man, like Sugar Ray Leonard came back in 1991, he fought Terry Norris. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, the baddest junior middleweight out there. He didn't fight a perceived easy guy so he could win a title. Sugar Ray Leonard fought Terry Norris. Muhammad Ali was old, obviously, you know, physically ill. Mm-hmm. He fought Larry Holmes in his comeback. Yes. Come on. You know, then Sugar Ray came back and fought Hagler. That would be like Mayweather coming back now and fighting, you know, Errol Spence right off the bat with no tune-up. You know, it wouldn't even be as big as that. So if you want to come back, don't come back in an obvious way that you're trying to manipulate people out of their money by tricking them into believing this is going to be a great event. You're 40-something years old. You're not fighting a war. You didn't fight it in your prime, and I'm not blaming you. But why would you do it now? You wouldn't do that. That'd be still. You'd be a fool to do that. Right. So I'd be a fool to pay for it. So I'm not paying $100 to watch what I already know is going to happen.
This is one of my last questions I want to ask you, and it's a super fight that I have in my mind, and I want to know what you think about it. If they took Evander Holyfield during his prime against Deontay Wilder right now, who will win?
Wow. You know, if I have to bet, I have to pick Holyfield because Holyfield is one of the smarter guys out there. Like, he doesn't look it. Like, Holyfield, when you watch him, you think, maybe about this guy, you know, he's always in a good fight. He's in a good fight because he's undersized and he has to commit. He's going to get hit to win. But when you watch him fight Tyson the first time, which everybody thought he was going to get killed, and he dissected Tyson. He fought a brilliant fight. He knows how to beat styles. But the only thing is, Deontay is not a talented guy. He's certainly not a technician. But that doesn't matter in boxing and especially in the heavyweights. But with that kind of power, they say it's a great equalizer, and it's so true. Like, you could be playing with Deontay Wilder, making him miss everything, but if you're not mentally on your game for 12 full rounds and he hits you with a good shot, you're going out. You're going to sleep. You're going to get hurt. Yeah. And so it would take a full 12 rounds of science. And I think Holyfield could do that, because one thing about Holyfield, he's going to get hit in the middle of doing what he has to do, but he's not going to lay out there and fall to your strengths. You know, anybody like Deontay, as tall as he is, Evander knows he can't stay at the end of the punch. He's going to work his way inside and maul him. So I think scientifically, as well as with heart, because Deontay, and I take nothing from him. Like I say, he's improving a bit, but he's got big heart and humongous power. But you know, to fight a guy like Holyfield, who knows how to muscle you and he knows how to drain you, he knows how to work the body, he knows how to position you. I don't know if Deontay's ready for that at this point.
Right. I do want to ask you this: you being a coach, I know who I would want to be mentored by. But if you could pick any coach that's been throughout boxing that you would love to be under, to learn some things from the past, who would that be?
Wow, that's a good question. You know, I've thought about that at times, and for different reasons, I've thought about Emanuel Steward coming to mind. And I'll tell you why. One thing, a lot of coaches disagree with this, and I'm not for this all the time, but with the right people I am. Emanuel believed in sparring, like getting in shape. You know, with sparring being, he probably relied on sparring a little bit more than I do. You know, I'm bigger on plyometrics and things like that, but he was big on sparring. And I used to hear the story. I have friends from the Kronk, like Milton McCrory in particular, who tell me, for you to survive in the Kronk, like Tommy Hearns had to survive in the Kronk. There were guys in there that you never heard of that could kill you, like Bernard Mays, Superbad Mays. And these guys tried to win. And I'm a believer in that. You know, I like sparring where guys are trying to win. You know, that they're simulating a fight. Right. And Emanuel Steward is one of the few trainers. He's the only one who I know was a real advocate of that. Like, that was his mentality. And you know, he produced one of the greatest offensive fighters in Tommy Hearns. But you had, you know, Ricky Womack, you had Milt McCrory, you had Hurley Sneed, you had Stevie McCrory. I mean, that gym produced Roderick Moore. I mean, they produce, you know, deep. You know, they're if you look at they have this whole thing used to be in magazines. I actually have it on my Facebook. It's a page that they took out in ads in newspapers in magazines. And it would have all the pictures of the Kronk fighters on the ad. We're talking like 35 guys in one gym who were either world champion, elite amateurs, or top-ranked professional contenders. Everybody, if you were a middleweight and you went in that gym, you were going to fight for your life to get out of there. And it didn't matter who you were. And I believe, you know, you get ready for fighting by fighting. And so I like Emanuel's mentality.
So it sounds like to me, Kronk was the Motown of boxing during that time.
Oh, man, like I say, I'm friends with those guys. I talked to Milton about it, Milt McCrory, and he said there's guys in there you never heard of, and they'd be beating on world champions on a regular basis. Just like the world champions had to fight to survive. And he said that's why they were so offensive-minded when they fought, and that's why they were so effective, because they got pushed to the limit in the gym every day. Like it was legendary sparring in that gym. And I've always, I've been a part of that in different gyms, but in that gym, it was the culture. That was like, you didn't go there. And I know guys from other gyms who went there for sparring. And I remember the one guy, he was a good amateur, and he told me, he said, look, he said, if you were on the gym, way to the gym, and you didn't feel like going to war, you better go home. Like, you don't go to the Kronk if you're not feeling up to it that day, because you're gonna have some big problems. So I like that mentality. Yeah. And that's just me. Some people don't like it, but I prefer it. I like it.
No, it's real, because like like I was always taught, this is the hurt sport. This is where nobody's gonna coddle you. You get knocked down, you get back up. Hey, you keep going until the bell rings.
Right.
I appreciate that, brother. I do want to ask you this: what do you have coming up in the future? Anything going on?
I have the 29th of this month, in a couple of weeks, in Los Angeles. I have an amateur boxer reunion going on at Justin Fortune's gym. I have Alex the Bronx Bomber Ramos coming in. I have Frankie Lyles coming in.
Fabulous Frankie Lyles, okay.
Frankie Lyles. Frankie will be there. Paul Banky will be there.
Okay.
I can't even think of them all. Like a bunch of guys. Guys, there's a kid, Damon Murillo, who beat my kid in the Silver Gloves back in 1996. I just found out he's going to be there. So I haven't seen this kid in 22 years. He's going to be there. And I actually have a picture of him, and I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to bring it to him as a little gift. So I have that going on. I'll be in Chicago in a couple weeks for Arthur Beterbiev fight, the title defense. I'm actually going to the West Coast Boxing Hall of Fame, which is the 30th of this month. I'm going to be presenting Thel Torrance for his induction. I'll be the guy giving a little, and I'm actually presenting Archie Moore, who was a friend of mine. I don't know if you know that, but Archie was actually a friend of mine.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Archie and I started contacting each other. I contacted him when I was 15 years old, and we kept in touch all the way till he passed away in 1998. And I actually have a video. If you go to YouTube, there's a video of him and I, with him introducing me to the crowd at a dinner, and he hugs me, and I have 48 letters, handwritten letters from Archie Moore, and so his daughter will be there, and I'm gonna present Archie, and then she's gonna come to the stage and accept his award for him.
Brother, that is history right there.
Sir, yes, sir.
History, man.
Yeah.
Man, you always been a history buff when it comes to boxing, anyway. So
yes, sir.
I know you got stacks of stuff. I know you got stacks.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you this, John. Before we conclude, people that want to get in contact with you, that would like to talk to you, what are your social media handles? How they can get in contact with you?
Well, I'm on. I have two Facebook accounts, which at any given time they're full. They have the friends limit.
Yes.
But if you message me, I can delete someone that I'm mutual friends with on both accounts and make room. So I'm at Iceman John Scully on Facebook, and I'm at John the Iceman Scully on Facebook. On Twitter, I'm Iceman John Scully, and Instagram, I'm Iceman John Scully. And all I do pretty much every day is just, first thing I do when I wake up every morning is put something up about boxing. So I have a lot of really great conversations going at any given time on those social medias.
Hey, brother, I really appreciate your time, man, that you took out of your schedule. This means a lot to me. I didn't say this, but John did one of my first interviews as a coach, and he wasn't you're not an asshole, brother, if I can go ahead and say that, because you get a lot of people that you meet and you already know within the sport that they're very introverted. They don't want to, they're not a people person. But John Scully, you can come up and talk to him and ask him about anything.
Sure.
He has a plethora of knowledge, man. So people, listen to this. Please get a hold of my brother. John, I will be down there the 29th at the alumni thing. So I'm going to be there. I talked to Melanie Lay, and I talked to Kendall Gould as well. So looking forward to seeing you, brother, and talking to you more and more. But I really appreciate the time, brother.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you, and look forward to seeing you, man. We're going to hang out, all right?
Definitely. This is Coach Stokes Stokeshouse Boxing. Always remember, do what you need to do, but always remember, stay ready so you ain't got to worry about getting ready. All right?
Yes, sir.